Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soulpreneur Symposium, my podcast where I bring guests, soulpreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs from all over the world who are here to share their spiritual gifts, to heal, to help people expand and ascend to high stages of consciousness. And today I have my fantastic friend Sherisse, who is a past life regression therapist. Yes, and she's going to share with you her incredible stories, how she started this amazing journey, how she has helped other people explore their past, their soul origins, things that were blocking them in their lives, wounds that they've been carrying from their past lives, and much more. I'm too excited to talk. So, Cherise, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing? How is everything? Tell us.
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. And it will be an awful lot of fun to have a conversation because anytime that we are talking past lives, I'm all over it. I really, really enjoy this topic. So excited.
Me too. Me too. I know we too have had a lot of conversations when it comes to your experiences with doing past life regression with your clients in the past. But today we are going to explore it all once again so that our audience can know how much fun it is to explore, you know, their
It's so much
past.
fun to play with. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh my God. Oh my. So let's begin, right? My first question to you is, what is past life regression? A lot of people who are into the spiritual, journey keep hearing about these things. Oh, quantum healing. Oh, past life regression. Oh, human design. But a lot of people do not know exactly what exactly it is. So straight from the horse's mouth, somebody who has been doing it for such a long time, can you give us an
Absolutely.
understanding what it is,
Sure.
what it
I
is
sure
about?
can. Okay. So there are two pathways to um, exploring your past lives and your DNA history, let's call it, maybe even your soul's history. The first path is the one that a lot of people start with, which is the Akashic Records, where someone else tells you, they tap into your Akashic Records and they tell you what their downloads are, what they can feel or sense from your Akashic Records that Spirit tells them is something that you should know about right now. The other path is a little more active. Instead of just being a passenger who's letting other people tell your story for you,
Mhm.
you are the one who is in control of your story. You are choosing the lives that you need to go to in order to go through whatever it is you're going through in this life and kind of tie it up with a bow and make it go away. And it allows you to truly access parts of yourself that you didn't know that you were missing or that you didn't know that you had, that you strength that you didn't know that you had, or the abilities that you didn't know that you had, psychic powers that you didn't know that you had, or just kind of a reconnection to your history, which is
Mhm.
super incredible and super important. A lot of us in our lives, we end up feeling like things aren't working correctly and we don't understand why. And in a lot of, not every case, but in a lot of cases, it is past life karma that we're working through. And karma
Mhm.
is an interesting concept because it's actually our soul's guilt that from what I'm understanding from the way that the work that I've done has kind of gone through, karma is actually our soul's guilt about things that we have done or not done in our past. And so
Mm.
when we are able to explore that and release it, it makes a huge difference in our lives. The cool thing about past life regression is it's hypnosis where you are in complete control. You choose the lives that you want to go back to and to look at. You choose the experiences within that life that you you or your soul needs to know about in this life in order to make that connection, in order
Mhm.
to release things. You may know more about those lives, but really it's your soul is trying to bring you back to these specific moments in past
Wow.
lives that kind of like tie in with your existing life and allow you to completely embrace yourself, let's call it, and be the best
Mm.
you that is humanly possible for you to be, which is so fascinating.
That sounds
Big
amazing.
long
That
story.
sounds amazing. Of course, you must have had amazing, memories of experiences of people and clients that you've worked with who visited their past lives. Maybe they were from other realms, dimensions, civilizations, right? And we are going to
Absolutely.
explore that, right? But before
Yeah,
I,
yeah. So a lot
yeah,
of past life regression therapists, I find if you work with a lot of people who are not spiritual or not psychic or not open to other dimensions,
yeah,
then you'll end up with kind of like the Dolores Cannon kind of experience, where it's human lives and then
hmm
potentially the lives between lives, those little spaces, the little
ah,
gaps between lives when you are here on Earth.
okay,
But a lot of my clients tend to be a little more spiritually minded than that. They tend to be very psychic, very open to things. They're embracing, things like 5D consciousness and
yeah,
other realms being touching ours or connected with ours in some way. They are, um, you know, they're comfortable with the idea of naming other beings and
wow,
allowing them to be here or partially here or what have you. Because of that, they tend to also remember those lives as well. So lives that are
wow,
not on this planet but are in other planets. And so it's really cool. Like I'm going to tell some stories here. So I had one friend who became a client and she's my favorite story of all because it was her second session with me and I just put her under it and we went through the thing and I'm like, okay, now tell me about the body that you're in. And she started going, my tongue feels weird. And then she scanned the body and she's like, okay, these are not human hands. What's going on? They're green, they're claws. What am I doing here? But I'm wearing clothes, so it's some kind of weird something. What the heck? And then she's like, okay, my tongue feels weird because it's got like a slit in the middle of it.
wow, my goodness.
And she's like, and my feet feel weird too. Oh my gosh. I think they're like clawed and the whole, she's
Oh
like,
my God.
oh my God, I'm some kind of reptile being. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have never gotten her to like
Oh my,
draw what her reptile was, but I would be so fascinated to see it. She said they were in a city with high rises and other beings around.
wow,
And, she knew a lot of the beings that were in her family group or her friend group in that life were also people that she knew in this life or was related to
wow,
in this life. So I thought that was really, really fascinating. Like she just had a couple of glimpses into that life and then kind of moved on to the next one. But it kind of speaks to the idea that it doesn't have to be just this
yeah,
planet. It can be all the planets, which kind of leads me into something that I like to harp on a lot that
yeah,
Debjit's probably sick of me talking about. He doesn't know yet what I'm going to say, but it's the idea that all of time is dancing
hmm
on the head of the same pin. So
yeah,
all of time is overlapping and it's like a layer cake, right? It's much closer to the way that Einstein viewed time,
yeah,
where all of time is all happening all at the same time. Like the moment that happened to you 30 or 40 years ago I'm dating myself here, is the same moment that's happening to you right now. The moment that happened to you 500 and some years ago in a different life is the same moment that's happening to you
Yeah.
right now. And now,
Right.
and now, and now, right? Like
Right.
every minute, they're not strings of pearls. They're more like it's all like a jumbled mess of
Yes.
twine, but also like the exact same thing happening over and over and
Yeah.
over again, which is fascinating. So, yeah,
Because,
I have lots of
yeah, yeah.
thoughts.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think the more we go to the 4D and the 5D stages of consciousness, these things becomes much more clear to us that time is not linear. Like you mentioned, it's more like a fractal, right? Where you are here, but if you just tune into a different vibration, you can see all aspects of you which exist in parallel in all realities, all timelines, all dimensions. I guess past life regression just allows you to calibrate to that frequency in order to access that version of it. Is that what is happening with you
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. And one of the fun things about past life regression is you can actually go forward as well. And
Wow.
sometimes I had another client, and I'm going to tell a little story here. So I had
Oh,
another client who was old enough to have been alive in the 80s, but
right.
she went regressed into a different life during a period where she would have been alive already. Probably she was a walk-in of some kind, or
Mm-hmm.
potentially she had a split happen and then she's merged back together, soul-wise. So it kind of freaked her out, and we had to do quite a bit of talking and figuring. It's been
Mm-hmm.
fascinating because there's no one else is talking about past lives in this way. I don't know if no one else is experiencing it or if they're just kind of like poo-pooing it and not allowing that to be the reality
Mm-hmm.
for people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely been an eye-opener for me on how li life as we know it, our soul's life as we know it, is not truth. It's not necessarily reality because I see in my work, I see a lot of things with a lot of people that just don't necessarily make
Mm-hmm.
sense, um,
Right.
which I find incredibly fascinating. Yeah,
That's so much it
yeah,
is. Before we move forward, I'd just like to let our viewers know that if you are enjoying this conversation and if you would like to connect with Sherisse, then all her socials will be in the description of this video. Go find her, go connect with her. She's more than welcome to connect with you and let you in on what you can explore when it comes to past life regression, right? And
absolutely.
also,
Yes,
if you have any questions that is coming to your mind right now as we're going through this discussion, please put it in the comment section. Sherry is going to answer your questions. Absolutely. Right. So let's move
absolutely.
forward. Right. So one of the questions that's coming to my mind right now is like if somebody is hearing our conversation, they're thinking like, well, that sounds fascinating, but that also sounds kind of scary because, oh my God, like other dimensions, me being in another planet, it feels a bit overwhelming, doesn't it? And what if somebody is feeling like that, and they still want to explore past life regression? What would you say to them?
Okay, so here's the beautiful thing about past life regression, about really any of the alternative healing systems that you can do, Akashic records or past life regression or hypnosis or really any, there's even like some really cool healing techniques that
Mm,
involve some really cool stuff. And all of it is, if it's not right for you, that's okay, right?
mm,
And the big takeaway from all of it is that our minds are incredible machines. They are. They
mhm,
are the most complex computers that the world has ever seen. Is the brains of not just humans, but all animals. We are marvels. And we don't necessarily need to have it be real in order
Mm-hmm.
for it to give us the result that we need. It just needs to be the thing that we needed to hear in the moment
Mm,
in order for us to move forward in our lives in some way, to
mm.
progress with some kind of transformation that our subconscious was ready for, but our
Yes.
conscious mind was not. So if you choose to believe that it's real, I'm right there with you. If you choose to believe that it's not necessarily real, that
Yeah.
maybe it's a little made up, but it might be helpful anyways, or it might be fun anyways, fantastic. I will meet you there and we'll go play and we will have all the fun, right? I'm
Yes.
good either way. Like, just try it and see. All it can be
Yes.
is terribly confusing. And if it's
Yes.
terribly confusing, then maybe that's because there's more work to be done.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely. There are so many questions that are coming because I know your process of doing past life regression. You take it step by step, you do healing after every session instead of one big goal. And that is something that I would love to explore. But before we do that, I think one question we can explore right now is you have worked with a lot of people, right? All over the world. And what do you think is some of the biggest blockages or wounds or patterns that somebody can come out of through past life regression?
Regret. It is always regret. Every single time. It is that they regret something,
Mhm.
something that they did, something that they didn't do. There's something that's left unfinished or unresolved.
Yeah.
And when they, you don't even have to resolve it, but when they release it,
Mhm.
you can feel the weight coming off them. It's like they lose 10
Mhm.
pounds instantly. They just become lighter and more free. And you can kind of feel their rib cage just opening up, which is so beautiful. So beautiful. And it's a lot of fun to watch. I'm
I
so blessed that I get to be like just the fly on the wall watching that transformation and
mm-hmm.
kind of like just marginally guiding the direction that we're going in.
Mm. This sounds fantastic. This reminds me of something, I mean, that has been happening to me very recently. It's like um I've been exploring these things. Like the more we awaken spiritually, we start to see some of the things in the past, like called closed loops, which has not been that kept open, that we need to close. And until those loops are closed, it keeps bothering as if you're some part of it or some part of your soul is stuck in the past. Now it happens from this life, you can do something about it. If it happens from
Absolutely.
past life, how do you close those loops? And like you mentioned, regret. So if somebody finds out something, how do you bring closure to that situation?
So the biggest key is honestly, um, and this is going to sound morbid, but the
Mm-hmm.
biggest key is going through the end of life process with people. It is incredibly terrifying to talk about at the beginning. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, even with, I do quite a bit of prep work on that. I'm like, okay, we're going to experience a death and
Mm-hmm.
it will be fine. You'll still be alive here. But it's something that we all need to go through. And even still, a lot of people like they will just like skip it completely. They just do not want to know. They just, their soul doesn't want to experience that. And so for those people, they still get a little bit of the healing.
Mm-hmm.
What generally happens is after we go through the death experience, then they are the soul kind of watching the body and seeing what happens to the body and seeing friends and family if there's a funeral and all the things, and having that closure sometimes is really helpful for people. And then the other piece of the closure is actually one of the pieces is bringing a spirit guide along with you on the journey, right? So you bring one in at the beginning and then they're with you through the whole thing, just in the background. And then at the end, they come back and you can have a
Mm.
conversation with that spirit guide and be like, hey, so I think this was the big lesson from that life, but am I on the right track?
Yeah.
And it usually says, yeah. That's why we came here. That's why we showed you all these things, was so you could do the things. Um, and then once you know what the lesson was,
Yeah.
knowing is three-quarters of the battle. So once
Right.
you know what the lesson is, then like even the littlest amount of conversation afterwards can
Mm-hmm.
release the final bits. And then of course there's a little bit of post work that I give people, like, if you have weird dreams or if you have any, memories that come up in the meantime, just acknowledge them, let them go, and I teach them a really cool technique called the PAF technique. And you know
I
about the
see.
PAF technique. You probably have
Yes.
forgotten about the PAF technique,
Yeah.
but it is especially helpful for this. It's helpful for a lot of situations, but it's especially helpful for aftercare,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can kind of deal with anything that comes up. And the way that it works
Mm.
is permission, acceptance, and forgiveness. Permission for feelings, permission for memories, permission for truths, permission for yourself and other people to do the things they do, to be the people that they are. They're allowed. You are allowed, right? And then accepting. I accept, radical acceptance. I accept myself. I accept all the
Mm.
parts of me. I accept that situation. I accept those people and all the parts of them, even the shitty ones, right?
Yeah.
And then forgiveness, which is again radical. Radical forgiveness of yourself, of the situation, of the other
Mm.
people, and then just letting it go. Once you've forgiven it, then you have to let go. Like when you forgive someone, you can't then hang on to your end of the rope and tug and tug and tug and tug anymore. Forgiveness
Mm.
means you let go of your side of the
Right.
rope, which is cutting the cord,
Mm.
right? So
Makes
yeah,
sense. This is
that's the
amazing.
big secret to what happens, afterwards.
Wow, that is amazing. So this is amazing. Like when you mentioned forgiveness, because I think forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways to let go of anything, to bring closure to anything, and also self-forgiveness, I guess, goes hand in hand, right?
Hmm.
Now, let's explore this because I think a lot of our viewers are now, if they're still watching, they're really curious. What is the process like? What happens when somebody contacts you? How does things happen? You did mention hypnotherapy is involved. You did mention connecting with your spirit guides is involved. Can you let us in briefly into how the process can feel like for somebody who'd like to work with you?
Absolutely. So it starts with talking through a couple of questions to see
Mhm.
current people, so that I can kind of like put two and
Mhm.
two together and ask confirmation questions. Like
Yeah.
if you say, oh, this person reminds me of someone, I can be like, who do they remind you of? And then you'll tell me a name and I'll be like, okay, I know who that person is in this life and what they mean to you. And that makes this a little easier. Um, and then I ask you what you're looking for out of this session, what your big pain point is, what your big dream outcome is, and
Mhm.
we kind of explore what that's going to look like. And I ask if there are any kind of like post-hypnotic suggestions you want me to make specific,
Right.
because you are in a hypnotic state. And if there is anything that you want to cement into your subconscious, that's the ideal time to do that, right? Um, so I can't make you do anything that you don't want to do, just to be clear.
Mm.
I can't, if you tell me that you want to do something, but you really don't, I can tell you all day long and it will never happen.
Um, I see.
I've had um, I've had one lady now, she has come back to me 3 times for stopping smoking. She doesn't actually want to stop smoking. She just wants to think about stopping smoking. So every time she does the hypnosis and then she stops smoking for a couple of weeks and then she gets bored or has whatever her trigger is and she just doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
think about it and she just starts again. And then 6 months or a year later, she comes and bugs me again. And I'm like,
Oh my
okay, we can
God.
do it again. I'll do it as many times as you need. Um, so it definitely is an interesting experience that it's not never, right?
Right.
It can be that you firmly choose this and you just
Mm-hmm.
need that little like nudge to your subconscious, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't hold a gun to your head and make you do anything at all.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
wouldn't want to. And I certainly don't ask any leading questions during it. So, okay, so
Mm.
you we do the questions, then I walk you through what the session will look like, which is basically this. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do a deep relaxation exercise. It's going to
Okay.
feel similar to a guided meditation that you do through any online apps or anything like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone experiences meditation or hypnosis or dreams in the same way. Some people
Mm-hmm.
have pictures, some people have sound, some people just have colors and like random images. Some people have just thoughts or knowings of things, and some people just have sensations, like they just feel bodily sensations. Um, and that's okay. There is no right or wrong way
Right.
to experience it. I haven't had anybody yet who is their sense of smell or taste is the only one that's activated. That would be
Mm-hmm.
really interesting to try and do that. But what the what the sense is that's heightened, that is the one that's catching it, does
Yeah.
is it brings back memories. It doesn't necessarily, it's not exactly like you're watching it over again. It's more like you're
Mm-hmm.
remembering it. So
Mm.
it's not as if you're going through it again. It's more as if you are like playing through it as a character in a video game almost,
I see. I
which
see.
is kind of interesting. And you can skip around. Like I have people that skip around a lot, which is fun. I'm like, okay, and now tell me. And they're like, oh, we're in a different place already. Sorry about that. But okay, so we do the really deep guided meditation, get you into a fully relaxed state. Then we introduce a current life experience. We introduce you into your secret garden, your happy place, basically, right?
Okay.
Then we bring in your spirit guide
Mm-hmm.
and introduce you to your spirit guide. Your spirit guide, you can talk to your spirit guide afterwards, which is super cool, right? Once you've made that connection, that person is yours for life. So, yay, you. Um, everybody should do it just so they have their spirit guide attached.
Good
Um,
question.
and then we go into the most recent life, just briefly, just to make sure that you can do this and get you used to the experience and all the things. And then once we've done all of that, then we start with, okay, so bring me back to a life that actually caused some of the problems in this life that are this, and this that you already told me about. Or bring me back to a life that would relate to this outcome that we're looking for in this life. And so that's the only prompt really that I give. And then I ask a lot of
Mm.
questions like, so what are you wearing? What color is your hair? What color are your eyes? Where are you in the world? Like really, so are you with people or are you by yourself? Are there any animals there? What color
Wow.
are the walls? Really
Oh.
simple questions. And then you as the person who's experiencing it, you tell me all, you fill in the blanks. You tell me the things that are important about that life. Not all the details. Like, yeah, I can
Mm.
ask you about the color of the paint on the walls, but if it's not important, you're not going to pay attention to it. You're going to be like, I don't know, but here's the important thing that I'm learning from this moment right here. Oh my gosh, this is such an important piece. And then I'll write it down so we can remember it for later.
I see.
And then, we'll bounce around in that life a couple of times and then experience the death, experience the
Wow.
afterlife, which is the most important part. Because if we can experience the afterlife, then that releases, right? That lets it go, and then we're not tied to it any longer. And then we go again, and then we keep doing that until we've experienced all the lives that your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious thinks or your spirit guide thinks that you need to have experienced or learned something from about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
then once that's all done, then we do a releasing ceremony, which is just kind of like letting it all go and um, detaching from the emotions of those lives that are
Ah,
holding you back in this life
I
and
see.
embracing your future and embracing the you that you want to be and really
Mm.
kind of like moving into the juicy yumminess that is possible when you are your full embodied whole self. And then um, I bring you back to waking. And then we have a conversation about, what the future potentially holds for you
Mm.
and what to watch out for over the next little while. The fact that you'll probably be a little suggestible for the next 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes or so. So maybe, you know, don't go hang out with somebody who's a negative Nelly.
Ah,
That'll impact you for a day or two as your subconscious tries to clear that.
yes.
Um, you know, don't go watching any podcasts or anything that are really going to get you real riled up about anything.
Mm.
Listen to some soothing music. Classical music is fantastic for it. Drink some water, have a
Mm.
tea, do the things that really soothe you and make you feel better about life. And then
Wow.
once you've done all of those things, then I send you on your way. And then I check in
Wow.
a day or two later and make sure you're still kicking and that nothing serious has come up that you're like, okay, I am having
Yeah.
the weirdest dreams and they won't stop. Because then if that's the
Mm.
case, then maybe we need to do another session and
Yeah.
kind of clear more stuff. So yeah,
Right. Wow.
that's
That
that's
sounds like a fantastic experience. Truly a mystical experience, That brings us to our final question of the podcast. We're almost at the end of the podcast. So, who do you think, should consider a past life regression session? Because a lot of people are probably, thinking like, oh, this sounds fascinating. I feel called to do it, but it's this problem that I'm facing. Does this can be helped with past life regression, or they're doubting themselves? What would you say to
I would say that the only person who should not do this
them?
is someone who's not open to the idea
Hmm. Hmm.
of weird things happening.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you don't believe in past lives, if you don't believe in spirits, if you don't
Yeah.
believe in other realms, if you don't believe in star seeds and conscious levels of consciousness and all of that kind of stuff,
Mm,
um, then my version of past life regression therapy might not be for you
yes.
because I really do access some weird stuff sometimes,
Hmm.
and it can be a little freaky for some people. Like I had one lady, okay, I'm just gonna tell one last story, okay? I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
one lady who she was feeling incredible guilt because one of her pets had gone away from the house in order to pass.
Mhm.
And she had felt just awful for this happening. And she, for whatever reason, one of her jumps was into the body of that cat as it was crawling away from the house so that it wasn't dying near its people. And for her, that was incredibly cathartic to realize that it wasn't her fault. Like she
Mm.
didn't do anything or cause anything. She wasn't a bad owner. That
Mm-hmm.
was the cat's choice, which is a huge, huge weight off of your brain,
Yeah.
off of your life, off of your consciousness, to realize that that wasn't something that you did wrong. That's huge.
Mm.
And
That is so true.
that was, I think, one of the more beautiful experiences that I'd ever had. Yeah. She was also the first person who, she was an Atlantean. So she went to Atlantis and she was very old soul. She also was, um, one of the proto-humans. I'm not sure which species, but a proto-human. So like
Oh,
the pre-human humans, like, you know, like
oh.
Australopithecus or something like that. And she was in Africa at the time, so it was one of the
Mm-hmm.
African pre-human human-like species. And that was a cool experience for her. She was just playing though. Like she didn't really have a problem that she wanted to deal with
Wow.
particularly. She was just playing with it. So she had that life, and then at the same time as that life, she also bounced into another dimension. She was the very first person I had who bounced into another dimension. So she
Ooh.
bounced into another dimension, and she's like, okay, that life is the exact same time as this prehistory, pre-human life. Like, that's so cool. And this one over here, she was a male, and she was like this supremely psychic, supremely capable, like
Wow.
awe-inspiringly like cool being. She's like, wow, I have like God powers in this world. This
My
is the
goodness.
coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Wow, I want more of this. Meanwhile, over here, she's this little, and she was just a young girl
Ah,
who had been playing and didn't realize that her tribe, her pack moved away from her, and she got left behind on the savannah in the dark,
my goodness. That is so interesting.
and she got ate by something.
She got eight by something. Oh my
Just
goodness.
saying, we don't all die the way we want to die. Um, And so it's fascinating all of the different experiences that are
Yeah.
possible when we are playing with our past lives.
Mm,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, and then I have
This,
one more story to tell, just one,
yes, yes,
because
yes,
this one
absolutely.
was really super cool and and I could tell stories all day, but one more story to tell. So
Yeah.
I had another patient who she one of the last life that she went back to was a life where she was a crotchety old man
Mm-hmm.
who was near where oh good Lord, I've forgotten the name of the festival. The big festival in the late 60s there with all the
Woodstocks,
humongous names.
not
Um,
Woodstocks, right?
Woodstock, yes, he lived
Yeah,
near
got it,
Woodstock.
got it.
And he lived near Woodstock, and he was like cranky as heck about the fact that this thing was going on there. Like
Wow.
all these vehicles and all these people, and they're trying to trespass on my stuff. And oh my gosh. Anyways, he passed away a couple years later. And then a couple years after that, she was born. So like a quick
Ah.
reincarnation, like that was a quick one. She did some digging because she was curious and she remembered his name or her
Ah.
name in that life, and she found him.
Oh
So it's real. It's real, guys. It's real.
my
We
goodness.
hear the stories, but until you like have someone like message you later and be like, I found him. I found me in that past life.
Oh my
I found
God.
me. And she saw pictures and the whole thing, and she's like, that's exactly the person that I remembered. Oh my God.
Wow.
So it was hilarious. Yeah. So
This is insane. This
definitely
is
it's pretty
insane.
cool. It's pretty
Oh
cool.
my God. I've heard stories, and there has been, news reports and stuff also out here in India from where I'm from, where people do believe in reincarnation. It's part of the religion and the culture. And we have had stories where, a little girl was born in a village and she would remember, like, her past life, and she would take her parents to go to this place, and she would find her old husband, like that. And she knows everything about the house and everything. But the very fact that you mentioned this story, that you have somebody find, their past version, that is mind boggling. Oh my God. This is
It was
amazing. This
pretty.
is,
It was the lizard people was more fun,
yeah.
but that one hit home a little more. Like, wow, like the- it's it's one thing to give yourself permission for it not to be true and for
Yeah.
it just to be a healing technique, right? Like these are the things that your soul or your subconscious needs you to hear in this moment
Yeah.
in order to move through whatever it is that you need to move through. But to
Mm,
actually like have someone like do just a tiny bit of digging. Like she didn't even have to dig hard. She just did a
yes.
tiny bit of digging and found this guy. And she's like,
My God.
that's me. And everything was exactly as she described it. Like where he lived, the kind of like she like went on Google Maps and found the house and everything. She's like, this is the yard. Like I remember. I'm like, okay, that's so cool. I'm so excited.
This
So
is
yeah,
super cool. Oh my God. I'm glad you shared that experience with us, honestly. This was the
absolutely.
icing on the cake when it comes to stories. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with me in this podcast, being with us in this podcast. And what would you say to somebody who is like, wow, this is something that I've been looking for a long time, and I would love to have my first past life regression experience with Sherisse. How can they reach out to you? I'll definitely have your, website, your links in the description, but still.
Yeah, so tranquilitysoulspa.com is the
Okay.
website. And definitely check me out. But if it's not me, then let it be someone. Like go find
Yes.
someone that you resonate really strongly with
Mm,
and just play with it. Like get them to
yeah.
do a session or maybe two with you and see what comes up. Like just be open to it because it will either be incredibly cathartic
Yeah.
or it will be incredibly fun or both. And the
Yes.
best ones for me are the ones where it's both. So definitely go find your people and go play with it.
Absolutely.
Fly
Thank
kites,
you.
as one of my best friends likes to say. Go fly some kites.
Wow. This is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Before we conclude, I'd just like to let my audience know I had my very first past life regression experience with Cherise. I would highly recommend, definitely recommend working with her, because with her, one of the coolest things is like you have a person who really is very, very considerate about your inner situation before you move forward. She spoke with me, understood me, that yes, I was a person who was very scared about exploring the past, and she
Right.
handled it exactly like that. And that is the best part for me for that experience. Having a friend, who is helping me explore the mysticism of the past life. It's the best thing that you can ask for.
Absolutely. And even if you're not exploring past lives, you are exploring things that your subconscious wants you to know about. And that's the key, right? Like even if you don't believe, even if you think it won't work for you,
Yeah.
something will come through, and that's the thing that your subconscious wants you to know. And I find that to be incredibly comforting.
That is so true. Thank you
Hmm.
so much, Chase, for sharing your experience, about all these fascinating stories with us. And I would request my viewers to definitely check Cherisse's website out. Link visited in the description. And do leave comments. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. Cherise will be answering your comments also. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Cherise, for being part of the podcast. And looking forward to more such amazing conversations in the futures as well. Have an awesome journey with your past life regression, experiences with others. And thank you so much again. Absolutely. Bye. Bye, everyone.